welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio. How you doing, Senator?
I'm doing good, thanks for asking, I didn't know you cared, but at any rate, I was asked my hat on the beginning doesn't have any logos on it. How'd you do that?
Well, technology is an amazing thing.
You erased my logo.
Well, I know we need to get the logo back because that's the group that we're going to get to sponsor our show, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
I
You know, yeah, sure, it is, absolutely.
Right?
It's good to see everybody on this Monday morning, it was an interesting weekend in the United States of America. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna get to that. You're gonna get to that.
we're going to get to that. I just wanted to make sure that we are streaming on all of our devices here. One second, I'm a little discombobulated this morning.
Are we seeing people join us? Is that
I
I don't
think so. Yeah, we have that's what
good.
I was going to look for. Okay, we are there. Yeah. We had a lot happen over the weekend and we're going to talk about it. But I do want to tell our folks watching with us and listening right now, we are going to do some live headlines here right now on Substack ahead of our conversation with Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. Of course, a husband, a father, a veteran, an astronaut. Most recently, one of the subjects of this video that prompted the President of the United States to amplify posts calling for 6 members of Congress to be hanged.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the video with him and stuff, but this is the President of the United States, and when like I said, we'll talk to Kelly about it, Senator Kelly, but, if you take a look at what he's done with, due process and what he's done with, tariffs and what he continues to do, uh, in a whole lot of other areas, including the military being placed into towns around the country. These guys that put and gals that put the video up, I think were justified just to remind these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, young men, young women, that because we have a president that tends to be unhinged a fair amount of the time, they should be looking at the legality of the orders that are given so that they don't do something illegal. Look, Uh, I, uh, I remember Kent State. I remember it, and I was just a kid, but I remember it very, very well. I remember some of the things that happened in Vietnam when people, in the service did things illegal. And for the other House members, and I think senators too, to come out and say, "These guys are really uncalled for," to put this in a word, that is bullshit. Because Congress has been gone since the president got sworn in. They haven't done anything. And to think that those guys on the Republican side of the aisle are gonna stand up and call the president out on anything is just bullshit. And so I applaud the effort of people who have served in the military, who have sacrificed their life, who have been on active duty, who have been deployed to step up and say, "Hey, these are the rules. Don't forget we have a constitution to live by." Because I think some people on the other side, and I've said this before, who wrap themselves in the Constitution ought to read it. And, that's kinda where we're at. So I'm looking forward to visiting with Mark Kelly about what has transpired and the reaction of the president, who, by the way, I think if anybody was inappropriate on this, it was the president of the United States. If he didn't think he was gonna be giving orders that did not follow the Constitution, illegal orders, I don't see why he would have responded this way. But he did. He did. And,
Yeah, we'll talk a lot more about this with Senator Kelly, of course, one of the subjects of that video. Let's talk about there's first of all, this morning there's a new True Social rant, and I know you love to talk about this, but this is about tariffs. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and basically, the president. There was a whole lot to do with the economy on the Sunday shows yesterday, and we're going to talk about this with Senator Kelly too. But basically, he went on a rant about how the tariffs just haven't kicked in yet. Like we're not seeing the benefits yet, and the payments will be record setting and put our nation on a new and unprecedented course. And he goes on again to say that we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. So this is new overnight.
well, just remember this, when the president took over as president of the United States, we had the best economy in the world, and we didn't have the kind of inflation we had today. We had inflation, but it's on steroids now. And yeah, he's right. It's raised a bunch of money. The tariffs have been the biggest increase on the tax increase on the American people, probably in the history of this country. And we're not talking about tax increase on the uber rich. It's affecting the poor and the middle class even more. And so, and for Bassett to get on TV and deny all this stuff, he ought to go to work. Truthfully, get out of government and go to work in the private sector, and not as somebody on Wall Street, but somebody who's working for a living with their hands, and you'll find out what inflation's doing right now and what those tariffs are doing right now. Because the truth is working people in this country are getting hammered by these tariffs. And for the president to think that these are still getting paid for by foreign countries is absolutely, well, it speaks to the fact that he's really not paying attention to what the hell's going on.
Of course, we're waiting for the Supreme Court.
What's going on? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. We're waiting for the Supreme Court, to rule on that too. So,
They might they might bail him out on this one. We'll see. We'll see what
we will
happens.
see. Okay, there's a lot to talk about with Ukraine. First of all, we woke up to new headlines that there was another deadly attack on Kharkiv overnight amid these talks that the White House is saying, Marco Rubio saying are productive. Another 4 people killed, 17 more injured. And did you see the 60 Minutes piece last night on Ukraine?
Yeah, I absolutely saw it, and it was disgusting, and it was disgusting that we let, somebody like Putin have any say in this conflict whatsoever. That son of a bitch is a bad, bad, bad man who attacked Ukraine for no reason. And this is a democracy that wants to be more like us and less like Russia. And the stuff that he is doing is unbelievable. And the fact that the president gives him time of day and any sort of respect whatsoever, I think speaks to where his values are, quite frankly. No, the story on 60 Minutes was incredibly disturbing and was incredibly, if it doesn't tell folks like Marco Rubio to wake the fuck up and quit taking plans from Russia and claiming it's your own, and then putting it forth as a peace plan when it turns over the vast majority of Ukraine to Russia is crazy. And maybe I'm picking on Rubio in the wrong way, but this isn't the same Marco Rubio that I served with. I'll tell you that.
Well, we're going to get into the details of what you're talking about with this peace plan. But the thing that stuck out to me last night, I mean, the images were haunting, and there was one scene where this blast came and this woman got hit by shrapnel, and they count her walk 2 steps, 2 steps. And then she falls over dead on the sidewalk, and that's just on a normal sidewalk in Ukraine. And 60 Minutes said it's the largest crime scene in the world. The country's top prosecutor said there are 178,000 open war crime investigations. So that story played last night. If you can go watch it, I recommend you do so. And it comes out at a critical time because of what Senator Tester just talked about. So there was this 28-point peace plan leaked last week. It was being sold as authored by the United States, and it raised eyebrows because it really did a lot for Russia and not a lot for Ukraine. We're talking about Ukraine giving up land to Russia. We're talking about Ukraine limiting the size of its military. We're talking about Ukraine not trying to join NATO again. But your former colleague, Senator Mike Rounds, raised some alarms, coming out with some new information over the weekend. He said that Secretary of State Marco Rubio told him and other lawmakers that this was a Russian proposal, not a U.S. plan. Mike Brown said, "It is not our recommendation. It is not our peace plan." Now, a spokesperson for the State Department said, "No, no, no, that's false. This is authored by the United States." And Marco Rubio kind of added to that here. Rubio insisted that it was authored by the United States, and that they had input from Ukraine and Russia. Well, I mean, this seems like a mess. What do you make of this?
Well, it is a mess, and they need to come clean. And the fact is that if this is the president's, if this is the administration's proposal to to solve this Ukrainian war, it's no wonder that he declared bankruptcy 7 times. This is a bad, bad, bad deal for Ukraine. It's a bad deal. Rubio knows it's a bad deal, but I don't know that he's got the kahunas to stand up and say this is a bad deal. God bless Mike Rounds. That's all I'm going to tell you for just telling the truth, because there ain't much truth left in Congress. And I really appreciate Mike for at least calling out what he knows is factual and just telling the truth. I don't know. I mean, all the stuff that's happened here is crazy. And when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, and Russia trying to take Ukraine back and try to reestablish the Soviet bloc, it's one of the reasons why all the countries around have tried to join NATO, because they don't like living like Russians live. They lived like that for a long time, and they got their independence, and they don't want to go back, and they're willing to fight and die for it. And that's what the Ukrainians are doing. Unfortunately, they're fighting against a person who has no moral values whatsoever in Vladimir and Putin. I'm sorry.
So, pro Ukraine Republicans have spoken out against this, including Senator Roger Wicker as well. And Representative Don Bacon put this up, basically comparing this to 1938 Munich. And that was an agreement that gave Nazi Germany territory from Czechoslovakia with the promise they wouldn't try to expand further. We all know what
Just
happened
what
after that.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is this is something we're going to watch. Apparently, there were what we're hearing are productive talks, so we'll see what kind of comes out of this. But certainly, that 60 Minutes piece was eye opening. Two story. We're going to talk more with Senator Mark Kelly about that as well. Two stories, though, I did not have on my bingo card this weekend, Senator. First, a very chummy Oval Office meeting between President Donald Trump and New York City mayor-elect, Zohran Mamdani, and they both said, "We agree on more than I thought we would have." That's what the president said. "I think this mayor can do some great things that are going to be really great." This has caused the MAGA world to go into somewhat of a tailspin.
Yeah, well, I know maybe the circle connected up. I don't know. Maybe the far left and the far right connected up. Remember, Trump, as was pointed out to me on MSNBC here last week, was a Democrat at one point in time. I don't know. I mean, the truth is that uh, I'll just say this. I mean, Trump isn't wrong all the time, and Mandami isn't wrong all the time, and maybe they connected up on the things they agree with.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll see how that goes. Did you see, though, he was sporting a new outfit yesterday?
Who, Trump or Mandami?
Trump, he looked a little bit more like Mamdani.
Oh, really?
He's wearing like a little he's wearing like a kind of a suave scarf and, just a little bit different than his normal look, so people are saying
Right.
that he's trying to look more like him.
Oh, cool. Well, look, I mean, Madami is a self-proclaimed democratic socialist, and some of the actions that Trump has done is absolutely socialism, taking control of countries,
Hmm.
talking about we're just going to cut companies. I'm sorry, not countries, companies, taking control of companies. We got to Venezuela way too quick. Taking control of companies. Um, uh, God, you made me lose my thought process. Uh,
Sorry.
writing checks out to people because his tariffs are destroying families. All that stuff smacks of socialism.
Okay, so here's the other story that I did not have on my bingo card this weekend, and I called you about this, and we're just going to play it here.
While Republicans will likely lose the midterms and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
Okay, so that was a snippet of a video from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene in which she announced that she is resigning in January. If you didn't watch the whole 10-minute video, you might think she's walked back a lot, and she has, but not totally. The first 8 minutes of the video, she rails against what she calls the radical left in many arenas. And then she lists the areas that she's disagreed with President Trump. Of course, mostly the Epstein files. And this comes after this big public feud that the president had with her. And he went after her again, calling her Marjorie Trader Brown over the weekend on Truth Social. So we're seeing Mom Donnie get more love than MTG. And now she's resigning before her term is up.
Yeah, look, I appreciate what she said about not putting up with with the garbage that has been dumped on her. But I think this is a lesson to be learned by all the folks that have come into line behind President Trump and done everything he's asked them to do. I'm talking about people in Congress, because the minute they go against him, he goes after them with daggers and tries to destroy them. And for that reason, if I was her, I would not have resigned myself. I would have said, "No, you're not. I'm not going to make it easy on you." Now, there are claims out there she might be running for governor of Georgia. I don't know if those are true or not. I did leave a call on her phone. I think it was her phone yesterday. Asked her to come on our show,
I emailed her too, all her press people, so we're trying.
and I would love to have her on because, quite frankly, I had the same wrath from President Trump because he put up a VA secretary that was not fit for the job, and I balked, and he went bazooties. So we have some things in common there.
Wait, he
From
went what? What did he say?
he went Trump. How's that? I
No, what
said
did you say?
I said bazooties. Okay, it's a very very common word that they use in Kenilworth, Montana. Okay, so oh, good. But the truth is that it's just he disagreed with her. And by the way, I think she's right on the Epstein files. I think they should be released. I think the truth will set you free. And if you're concerned about you being in those or your wife being in those files, then too bad. You do the crime, you pay the time. Okay. So that's what it is.
Okay, so the last story I have, I mean, there was so much we could have talked about. There's just a lot happening, including, and I didn't have time to really dig into this deeply, but on X over the weekend, apparently they unveiled a new feature in an effort to be more transparent that listed the origin countries of some top accounts. And many of the top mega influencer accounts are coming from other countries like Nigeria and China and Russia. So we're going to dig into that a little bit more. It's still developing, and a lot of people are talking about that online. But
So
yeah,
here's the thing, Marisa. You have to ask yourself, why would they do this?
right.
Why did they want to influence? What is their advantage? And I have my own thoughts on that. I don't think we're paying near enough attention to Russia, China, North Korea, or Iran anymore. I think it's focused mostly on domestic and not enough on foreign. And I think that is a huge problem if we have another president for the next president of the United States, quite frankly, because he's pushed away all our traditional allies. I think it'd be good. We will talk to Kelly about this too, because he's on our services. But I don't think we're paying near enough attention to the folks who are the true threats to our democracy.
Okay, so the last headline I have that I want to talk about has to do with education. Last week we had Randy Weingarten on, of course, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, to talk about the newest attempts at dismantling the Department of Education. Right after that, we learn more about the impact. So there's a new change to what the federal government considers a professional degree. So if your degree isn't considered professional, it will mean you don't qualify for as much financial support or student loan access. Okay, so here are the degrees that are affected. Oops, not that one. This is what happens when you're at your own.
Long, yeah.
Wrong click. Okay. Uh, Nursing, physician assistants, physical therapists, audiologists, architects, accountants, educators, social workers.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know where to start and where to end, but all those are bad choices. Every damn one of them. Come to rural America. Every one of those things we need. We haven't had a doctor in my hometown for probably 40 years. And you know who's replaced them? Physician assistants. It costs money to go to school to become a physician assistant. For decades, we have not had enough nurses. But this president, because he can buy what he wants, says, "No, we got plenty of nurses." That's wrong. Social workers, you know what the when it comes to mental health, Montana and Alaska are number 1, 2 in suicides. We've got all sorts of mental health issues, not just in those rural states, but in states all over this country. In fact, it's a huge issue. Social workers, mental health go hand in hand. When I was chairing the VA committee, we didn't have enough psychiatrists and psychologists. Social workers were the ones who were helping fill in that gap.
Mhm.
The list goes on and on. Every damn one of those occupations that he put on that list, I don't know who made that list. I don't believe Trump made that list. But somebody who made that list is absolutely out of touch with reality. Absolutely out of touch.
Yeah, so these definitions are being used while discussing kind of student loan caps that are outlined in that what do you call it? That bill? What do you call that bill?
The big, beautiful bullshit bill.
Yeah, yeah, that one.
It's not true.
Um, so if you can't afford college, your family doesn't have money, you don't have money saved up, and you wanna go into these programs, you're gonna be in trouble. So this is all happening right now. It would take effect July 1st. There's a whole other issue, about, about other programs like journalism also that you like if you qualify for certain federal grants, that you have to prove that you would make more in those programs than if you didn't go into those programs. Let me tell you what, if you're going into journalism or social work in the first few years, you're not going to make more than somebody who didn't at the start.
Well, I'm not so sure that doesn't even apply after you've been in the business for a few years. Take a
Well,
look at
100%.
teachers. I mean, teachers that have taught their entire lifetime, they're they're making food stamp wages. I mean, and this, I'd say the same thing for journalists. In fact, journalists might get paid less than teachers. So it's crazy. But this is going to exacerbate. If you let's just healthcare for an example. Didn't do anything on the premiums. Premiums are going through the roof. So uh, being able to buy insurance has become a thing of the past for a lot of these working families. And now we're going to take away the people out there that are delivering services like physicians' assistants and nurses and social workers. Are you kidding me? This is making America great again? Give me a break.
Yeah, this is, a lot of people have pointed out too that it's a lot of female dominated professions. So there's a lot to talk about. We are going to take a beat here.
I'm glad I wore a hat because you got a hat on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one thing.
I was where I had to get a new bag out because I went through all my old ones and now I got another bag. So I'm good. I'm set for the next 2 years probably because there's probably
Oh
75.
man, this show's ruining your life. You had to get another bag of hats down.
Yeah, I know.
This is his thing. He wears a different hat every week,
Yeah,
Senator.
we get a
So
lot of we get a lot of hats in this job.
It sure
yeah.
do. It's unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah,
I yeah, just was putting them in bags, and I mean,
yeah,
like these bags that my wife gets sheets in and stuff. She get,
yeah,
yeah, I've got like 4 bags of hats. I mean,
yeah. People give them to you all the time. I even have one of those red hats with that white lettering on it
really?
What?
that somebody gave me.
And the like a MAGA hat? Like a real MAGA
Yeah,
hat?
obviously I do not wear it, but I was gifted it, and I was you know res, took it respectfully.
Yes, okay. I mean, a gift is a gift. Hey, we've been chatting here for a minute, but we wanted to just take a break and a beat and say welcome to Senator Mark Kelly from the great state of Arizona. Welcome to Grounded, sir.
Good to be on. Thank you.
You're you're out of Tucson and you're in DC now.
No, I'm in Tucson.
Are you in Tucson?
Yeah,
When
it's
you
my Tucson
when
place.
when are you out this week? Yeah, it's Thanksgiving. You're out this week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I was supposed to be here all week, but I'm gonna go do the Jimmy Kimmel show tomorrow, so I'm gonna fly to LA and go on Kimmel tomorrow night, and then come back.
We'll be tuning that one in.
Whoa. Hey, yeah, we will. I
But I have
just
to say, John, being on your podcast is a bigger deal than going on Jimmy Kimmel.
You know what? I really appreciate that. I've always felt that, the only problem is the president hasn't asked us to get off the air. They haven't talked to our parent company, which we don't
Mm.
have one, about removing us, but,
well,
here
give it time. Give it time.
exactly. Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
not yet. So I just met Senator Kelly in person for the first time in Sedona, Arizona. I have to say, that blew me away, Senator. I mean, the beauty across Arizona, but especially in Sedona, I just I couldn't quit talking about it. I'm still talking about it. But I also took a picture while I was there of this. And I want you to explain to our viewers what this is.
well, another gift. It's a Labubu, I think is how you
Yes, a
pronounce
little
it.
boo boo.
and it was really hard to cram the Labubu into the spacesuit, which is which is real life. It's actually really hard to get into that suit. When you try to get your body in there, it's very similar. It took about the same amount of time, like 30 minutes, to get Labubu into his spacesuit. And but the only reason I know anything about these is because of South Park. Otherwise, I would have been totally unaware. Um,
So right after you showed us that at the table, I had to explain to Senator Tester and Charlotte what we were looking at, what a Labubu was.
Yeah, and you know what
I think
my takeaway from all that was? Now that I know what a Labubu is, I gotta start watching South Park. I mean,
oh, you got to watch this season. It is. I, I mean, obviously, it is satire. Satire is so important in any democracy. But boy, I mean, if you think there's like a line, not to cross, they don't know of one.
Yeah, they crossed every single line. So Senator Tester, do you wanna start us off, or you want me to jump into the video?
I think you should jump in the video. Jump in the
Okay.
video. We'll gi
So
we'll give Senator Kelly just, a little opportunity to catch his breath while the video's going on, and,
okay. So, Senator Kelly, more threats overnight from the president against you and your Democratic colleagues about this video that you posted. I'll just play it here with the sound down because I think everybody
Senator
who
Alyssa
watches this might
Slotkin.
have
Senator Mark
seen this
Kelly,
by now.
Representative.
So I'm just wondering, when your offices planned this video, did you anticipate the kind of reaction that you might get from the White House here?
No, I mean, I didn't think we would get any reaction from them because, I mean, what's more American than just standing up for the Constitution? And I mean, I guess I shouldn't expect it from this president because obviously he is very unconventional and says things all the time that nobody expects him to say. But I would have thought any other president, after seeing our message, would have said something like, of course, members of the military shouldn't follow unlawful or illegal orders. I mean, that's like the common sense thing to say. So when he called for us to be hanged and executed, I was, you know, pretty shocked, by that. Um, and those are dangerous words. I understand this is a dangerous job. I've had other dangerous jobs before. I've flew 39 combat missions, almost getting shot down over Iraq and Kuwait. I flew on a rocket ship, built by the lowest bidder. Um, and, that's a rather dangerous job. But what I never really expected is for the president to call for my execution. Um, and that's dangerous because he's got this huge following, millions and millions of people. And most of those people are very reasonable. They've got a different political philosophy than I do. I'm on the other side of this president on so many issues, but also among those millions of people, like in any group of millions of people, there are a bunch of nuts. And it doesn't have to be a very large group for this to start to become dangerous. So I was rather disappointed in the president for saying this. It's unpresidential. We're just defending the Constitution here, and I also know what political violence is. My wife Gabby was nearly assassinated. She was meeting with her constituents at a political event. A guy shows up with a gun, shoots her in the head, kills 6 people, wounds 12 others in about 15 seconds. Changed so many lives. I mean, a dead 9-year-old girl, all because this guy wanted to kill Gabby. This was an assassination attempt on her. Collateral damage, 6 other dead individuals, including Christina Taylor Greene, who was born on 9/11, did not live to see her 10th birthday, was 9 years old. So tragic things happen. And presidents, inciting this kind of violence, it's uncalled for, it's unpresidential, it's dangerous.
I don't know really where to go from here, Mark, other than first of all, um, we did a little show ahead of this live this morning, and I'm going to tell you, as an American, as somebody who believes in the Constitution, I appreciate what you did. I appreciate what all the folks did, because the fact is that this president has done a lot of things that are incredibly questionable, whether it's on due process or whether it's on tariffs or whether it's how he's using the guard or whatever, how he's using ICE. There's a lot of things out there that would indicate you weren't out of line at all to say, you didn't say don't follow the president's order. You said don't follow orders, period, if they're illegal, period.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's rather straightforward that members of the military are required to follow orders,
Yep.
with an exception. If they're illegal, they're required not to follow them, not optional. And here's the thing about this. It's pretty obvious when an order's illegal. A reasonable person can tell when something is, out of bounds, that it's illegal. The challenge is that not that members of the military might not realize that they don't have to follow those illegal orders. We're not trained, at least when I was in the Navy, operationally. This isn't something we talk about. If you're in ROTC, I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy in a naval science class. We may have heard of this once. You're not given refresher training unless your commanding officer might be like really into this. Or if you're, um, you go to the Naval Academy, it's not something that's talked about a lot. So this was like a friendly reminder because, we have a president, that has said some very aggressive things. In 2016, on the debate stage, he said that the US military should be killing the family members of terrorists. Family members. What that means is potentially, spouses, so women, children, kill the family members. And Brett Baer, who was the moderator of that debate, said something to the, I'm paraphrasing it here, something to the effect, well, that would be illegal to do that. And Donald Trump's response was, the US military is not going to refuse my orders. So you combine that with what happened in his first term when he talked about shooting protesters in the legs, and Mark Esper and Mark Milley happened to be there and said to him, hey, we cannot do that. What if it was a different Secretary of Defense, that didn't stop this? We could have had a situation where they're ordering the military to do this. So we're trying to just get ahead of it. Here we've got troops being deployed to US cities, presidents talking about invoking the Insurrection Act. And we just want to say to, members of the military that we have your backs. We have your backs. Here's a reminder about illegal orders.
And there's so much legal gray area right now with so many of the things. I mean, it's hard for me to keep up with where things stand in the courts as far as the National Guard deployments to certain states and cities. And then we talk about the questioning over the strikes, over the alleged drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean. And so I think there are legal gray areas that most people are having a hard time keeping track of right now.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, that's, obviously, world we, currently live in. I'm really concerned about these deployments to US cities. And you're right, we haven't had the final. One court said it was illegal. We'll see as this works its way through the court system. What does the Supreme Court ultimately say? But when the president says he wants to invoke the Insurrection Act, that seems sort of out of bounds. There is not an insurrection going on in the United States. There is no rebellion in US cities. And this is a police action. And members of the military, here's where this becomes a problem. Infantry soldiers and members of the National Guard are not trained to be police. They don't know how to do this. I'm the son of two cops. I understand, a little bit about policing, and it's a complicated job. And how do you interact, with the public when people are in distress, and what are you allowed to do and not allowed to do? Members of the military are not trained for that. So you combine that with a president's inclination to do things that are over a line, and you're just asking for trouble.
No doubt about it. Are we done with this issue, by the way? Can we
No,
move
I
on?
I have one more
You've
question.
got one more?
Sorry, can we
Um,
just ask about the is
yeah,
that okay?
yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so the president, reshared this last night from Glenn Beck, basically outlining a law about affecting the armed forces. So my question is, and I should say too, Representative Jason Crow's office shared pretty alarming audio from messages that his office is receiving. There's have been several bomb threats, both with his office, Senator Slotkin's office. So the question is two-part here. Um, do you think that you're now being investigated or surveilled? And the second question would be, are you getting similar threats and will anybody do anything about them? Is the are Capitol Police going to investigate these threats?
Well, they investigate all threats when it goes over a certain line. And, that's been harder for them to do as more threats have come in over the last couple of years. It's been record levels of threats against members of Congress, both sides of the aisle. We're just living in a highly polarized, politicized environment. Um, I don't have any indication that, anybody's surveilling, me. I'm an open book on this stuff. I am not going to be intimidated, by this president. I swore an oath to the Constitution. And what I felt like he did, he declared in what he said to about us that he declared that loyalty to the Constitution is punishable by death. That's the message. But we're not gonna, back down. I mean, we have constitutional rights. And I mean, the bottom line is we just restated the law. That's it. And here's one of the things that surprised me, and I'm still waiting. That was like on what, Wednesday or Thursday? The president still hasn't said, well, I'm not going to issue any illegal or unlawful orders. I mean, how easy would that be to do?
100% correct. 100% correct. The question I had in regards to this was, there's folks on the other side of the aisle that have served in the military. They've gotta know that this doesn't pass the smell test, the stuff that the president's doing. And where the hell are they? I haven't heard anybody come out on the other side. Maybe I'm wrong on this, Mark, but folks come out on the other side saying, "You know what? These guys are right. Just follow the law, follow the Constitution."
Yeah, I mean, I did hear Rand Paul, said that he thought it would be a really bad idea to hang U.S. senators. So
Worth a stand.
I appreciate that. Other than that, I really haven't, heard that much. I got one call from one of my Republican colleagues. That's it. Um, and yeah, they're not gonna speak out because then they're gonna just draw incoming fire.
And
So
that's one of the reasons he does this, by the way, and what he does is to make just to say, "Hey, I pardoned all sorts of people that did the January 6th thing, and, they're all on my side, and, by the way, don't cross me. I'm above the law. The Supreme Court has made that pretty clear that he's above the law, and
yeah,
if you cross me, then, I don't care if the Constitution is on the line or not, I'm gonna threaten the shit out of you." I mean, it's
yeah,
just unbelievable we are where we are today.
it is. And we're 250 years in. You think our democracy would be getting stronger over those years. It hasn't, at least not lately. And we have a president who sees constitutional government, in my view, as kind of a nuisance to be
Yep.
crushed. And he's trying to do it with this, but he's also, I think he's also trying to, distract from, you know, Epstein. This was an opportunity for him. He's really good at this. You got to give the guy, some credit here. He's really good at changing the media cycle and the narrative. And he took it right off the Epstein files, trained the fire right on, the six of us who are just sticking up for the Constitution.
It's amazing. Um Can we talk about Ukraine now, Maritza?
You
Maritza,
go ahead.
so you know, Mark,
Yeah.
Maritza's the brains of this outfit, and I'm the eye candy. Okay, so you know, you've always knew that. So one of the things that also I think speaks to the president's, I don't know, potential loathing for democracy is how we've treated Ukraine. Could you give us any update on what you know on this supposed peace plan that was written by the president of the United States that appears to be written by Russia and the deadlines, and just kind of give us a view of what you know about this as the United States Senator from Arizona?
Well, guys, they're not sharing details with us as they go through this negotiation with the Russians and the Ukrainians. My sense is even on our side of the negotiation between the White House and the State Department, everybody is clearly not on the same page. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor, and the archivist, and I think he has a fourth job, tells
He's the White House
Mike,
janitor.
feel bad. I hope he's getting paid a little extra because that's really not fair. Um, but they're he tells Mike Rounds, senator from South Dakota, as you know, and other senators that that this was the Russian plan. It's not our plan. And then the State Department spokesperson says the opposite thing, and the White House says something else, and it's kind of confusing, I would say, right now. But we've got to support Ukraine. It is in our best interest to do this, and to see the president do a 180 on this over and over again. He's just kind of flip-flopping on this, and I kind of feel like he's about to get suckered into a bad deal. um he also doesn't seem to realize, that Putin is a master manipulator, um, and has a way of getting what he wants. And if he gets this deal, the deal outlined in these 28 points, that's a win for him. He gets land. He keeps Ukraine out of NATO. He keeps NATO from inviting Ukraine into NATO, and he gets an opportunity to rebuild his economy, rearm, refit, and then who knows where he's going to go next. And if he sees this as a win, don't listen to me on this and other senators. You got to listen to the Europeans. The government of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Poland. I've been to all these places and talked to their their leadership, and they are convinced that if he is successful, they are going to be each of these countries could be the next target. He wants to rebuild whatever he can of the Soviet Union. He wants to go down in history as like this military leader that accomplished something. Um, but all he's accomplishing is a lot of destruction and the murdering of innocent Ukrainians.
No doubt about it, and you touched on something that's really important. If he gets this deal, it's not if, he will rebuild the economy, he will rebuild his military, and he will go after what's left of Ukraine as well as all the surrounding countries. There's that used to be part of the USSR, and maybe even more. And that's why I believe that you got to pay attention to what the hell's going on here, because you trust somebody like Putin, and you're putting your trust in the wrong damn person.
Yeah, and he only respects strength. We've got to stand up to him. There's good legislation, that we have that'll for countries who buy Russian oil. It increases tariffs on them by 500%. See, there actually is a good use of tariffs,
Amen.
not just sticking it to the American people, but actually sticking it to, the Russian oil industry by if the president would take action on this legislation, raise these tariffs substantially on countries like India and China and even Brazil, it's going to hit the Russian economy hard, really, really hard. This will set him back on his heels. This will give Ukraine an opportunity, and then we could, finally, the United States and Ukraine could negotiate from a place of strength.
Yep, no doubt about it. You're still on armed services. What kind of help is the United States of America giving Ukraine right now?
Well, with this president, he changed the way we're doing business here, and instead of um, giving them combat power, um, giving them artillery, you know, rocket propelled artillery and HIMARS, ATACMS, land attack missiles, um, all that stuff. Now we basically sell it to the Europeans, and they give it to the Ukrainians. So just a different way of getting it in there. They're still, I would say, they're not getting everything they need. We could be, more helpful. Their magazines in certain items often get very, I would say, dangerously low. They can't prosecute all the targets they need to, and that allows Russia to often make advancements. Having said that, this has devolved into a much different conflict than it was in the beginning. This was kind of your typical European ground war, which was artillery and armored personnel vehicles and tanks and small arms. And now it's dominated by drones,
Mhm.
FPVs, first person view drones, initially controlled with an uplink and navigated by GPS. Now it's becoming, they're starting to control these with fiber optic cable. So you're talking about like tens of miles of really thin fiber optic cable. The battlefield right now looks like there's spider webs all over the place because these drones go one way, they'll go 20, 30 miles, they'll hit a Russian target and then they leave these fiber optic cables behind. I was in a military hospital in March in Kiev, and of the about 10 soldiers that we visited, all of them were amputees. One stepped on a landmine, and the other 9 had been hit by drones. So you can see the change in how this conflict is playing out, and I think it says something about the future of future fights. How instructional is this for a conflict with China in the Western Pacific? Hard to say exactly, but certainly for a ground war in Europe, drones are going to be a big deal. And we should work with the Ukrainians to build their capacity to make more. That could benefit us in the future because if we continue to help Ukraine, and they've told me this, I mean, it didn't come from Zelensky. It came from Yarmak or uh, the head of intelligence. One of them said, "Hey, if you guys continue to help us with this, we will do anything for you. We will go with you anywhere you need." So we could build the manufacturing capacity to build it up to make 10 million drones a year in Ukraine, and then if we ever need that,
I got it.
we got it. We know where to go.
Yep. Maritza,
Well,
you
I
want to talk about
I
the
there's a
economy?
lot we wanna talk about, but we're running out of time.
We got to talk about the economy for just
We
a
have
second.
to talk about the economy. Okay, so
Okay.
Really
so,
quick, really quick.
Senator, you're on the Joint Economic Committee. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tried to paint a real rosy picture yesterday on Meet the Press about the economy. Donald Trump put out a post again talking about how we haven't seen the full benefits of tariffs yet. Um, Kristen Welker talked about inflation going up, and Scott Bessent actually said that's not true. It hasn't gone up. So, how do you combat the gaslighting here?
Uh, you got to do as much as you possibly can to shine the truth on it. Point the American to people to good sources of information. I was with the woman the other day, uh, and I was giving a speech about AI, who was fired from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Getting rid of her was not a good option. They tried to replace her with somebody else. I think even the Republicans realized this person isn't going to give us, real information. I think the American people got to get off of, social media, get their news from more trusted sources. Wall Street Journal, as an example, The Economist, the New York Times, your paper of record for your state, not a bunch of these like bullshit, outlets, with your podcast being an absolute exception to that.
We
Um,
appreciate that.
but tariffs, i- it will raise a lot of revenue. President's right about that. But where's that revenue come from? It comes from like hardworking people. And if the price of groceries, goes up 10%, um, and somebody's a millionaire or billionaire, they don't care. Doesn't matter. The price of a car goes up 20%. Billionaires, millionaire, doesn't matter. It matters to everybody else. So this is a regressive tax on hardworking people, middle class, working class folks. And it's not gonna help us. Um, and prices are going up. No matter what he says, we can measure inflation.
And I think to add to that, as prices are going up, the economy is actually pretty stagnant. It's not growing. It's not on fire like it was a year ago, quite frankly.
Well, the only
Except
thing that the thing that's propping up the US economy right now, we would have negative GDP growth. We would be heading towards a recession if it wasn't for AI.
yeah,
The investments in data centers, in chip companies, in the companies that create the large language models is enormous. And
yeah,
if you were to suck that all right out of the economy right now, we would be in a really bad place. That's what I'm really worried about. Because if and there's going to be ups and downs as we transition into an economy with a lot of artificial intelligence in it. I just wrote this AI white paper about how are we going to manage this? How do we make this worker focused? How do we make sure that people that lose their jobs mid-career or
Right.
can't get a job out of college or high school will have opportunities? So we've got to figure out that transition, and then we have to figure out the infrastructure, the electrical water infrastructure part of this. Um, if we wind up with a bubble and that bubble bursts, 2008 is going to look like a party.
that's a
Well, that's
fact.
not a happy note. I just have a couple
We
of
we gotta work to make sure the bubble doesn't burst. That's
That's right. I want to make sure that this thing. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it goes smoothly. The upside on AI, I think, is enormous.
unbelievable.
Solving really hard problems in medicine, material science, chemistry, physics, what we can learn from this, how we can make this world a better place, figure out ways to provide more energy, fusion power, all kinds of things. There's enormous upside if we don't screw it up.
Yeah, the challenge is all our goddamn research is leaving this country right now because the president doesn't believe in research on the energy front, the medical front, any front. And,
Yeah.
that research, by the way, will help fuel the information that AI is gonna make a determination on how to move forward on cures for diseases that have been around my and your entire lifetime.
Yep.
and bringing in foreign students. Okay, do you have time for a couple of silly rapid fire questions, Senator?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have a favorite space movie?
The Martian.
Oh, that's a good
Which
one.
which I actually say is less of a space movie and more of a how do you solve problems with science and engineering, and that's what I like about it.
Do you have any big plans in the next few years, like a return to space or maybe running for this country's top office?
I would love to go back to space and get off the planet for a little bit, take a little vacation up to the space station.
Can you
I need
bring
John.
friends?
Sure, John. You were on the appropriations committee. Can I appropriate myself a space flight? Is that a thing?
It's tough. That's gonna be tough. You're gonna have to get a hold of Coons to do that. He's the full chair or defense
Yeah.
ranking member now, so, hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, my last one is if you suddenly became the tenant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in 2028, what would you use the ballroom for?
Well, actually, I don't think, first of all, I don't think that's going to happen. Uh, the ballroom. uh, Okay, so here's my biggest problem. The idea that this president wants to raise money. I've got a problem where the money's coming from, but he wants like an event space. I get it, and he likes to do big events. It's unfortunate the way it happened, going around all the processes. He apparently wants it before the end of his term. my biggest problem with it, I think it's going to look kind of ridiculous because it's such a big building next to the White House.
It dwarfs it.
It's gonna, yeah. It's so I think it's going to look really horrible. That's my, that and the, not using, we could have appropriated money because what are these CEOs that donated and individuals that donated the money? Are they going to want something out of it? Or maybe you could have had a fundraising operation that was maybe a little bit more above board. But my biggest problem with it is just I think it's going to look bad.
Could you touch on just a second? I know this is an issue that I shouldn't. We're having fun now, but could you touch on the 230, 240 million bucks the president's due to get from the Department of Justice?
Is he really due to get it? I know he wants it.
He,
Want it.
let me put it this way. You're right. I stand corrected. But isn't it in the bill to keep the government open that
Mm.
he's in line for this, or am I wrong on that?
I don't think it's in there. I think this is something he's asking for. And
Good to know.
whether DOJ will say, he gets 230 million. Hey, look, Republican senators, recently stuck in the CR where they can get millions of dollars because somebody looked at their phone records. Now, not tap their phones. There was no eavesdropping. Looked at the metadata during an investigation and millions of dollars of taxpayer money. This president, say what you will about him, he has got a real talent for taking money away from his supporters and the American taxpayer and putting it in his own pocket. He is really, really good at that.
Yeah, Senator Kelly is right. He's demanding this money, and it's probably likely gonna happen with a lawsuit, but it's not that he's set to get it at
Yeah.
any point yet.
Good. That's good news. So I've got a question. It's something you brought
Yeah.
up earlier. You said that you flew in rockets or for the lowest built by the lowest bidder. So if you take your time back to setting in that rocket, sitting on the launch pad, ready to fire off into space, was that the conversation you had with the other astronauts? Say, hey, don't worry about it. This rock was built by the lowest bidder. But it's going to be fine.
No. Usually you strap in about 3 hours before liftoff. You got a lot of shit to do. You gotta turn on a lot of stuff. You're going through all these procedures. There's some time where the countdown clock will stop, allows, like, people to catch up. Sometimes people take a nap, a little
What?
on the a little micro nap on the launch pad, especially if there's a hold. When you're going to the space station, the launch window is really narrow, like 3 minutes that you gotta get in that launch in that, 3-minute, window. But ultimately, you get the 6 seconds, main engine start, you don't go anywhere yet because 'cause you're bolted down to the launch pad, hit 0. Now you got 7.5 million pounds of thrust behind you, and it's like God coming down and ripping you off the planet.
How many G's?
Not a lot of G's. Eventually, it's 3 G's through your chest, though, not like this, but like this. So it gets hard to breathe after it's 3 G's for a couple minutes.
I imagine amusement parks are just not even fun for you anymore, like, they're boring.
I love a good roller coaster.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah,
great. Okay,
yeah,
see, we'll take him to Disneyland, Senator Tester. Hey,
right.
we have taken so much of your time, Senator Kelly. I didn't even get a chance to ask you if you had an embarrassing John Tester story, so we'll have to save that.
Embarrassing one. I don't know. The thing I think of, John, the one thing you told me once, I gotta look at my calendar here if I gotta get on something, um, was like how you very rarely went on like Codels, like overseas, and you're always back on the tractor because somebody's got to take care of the farm. I was always really impressed by that.
Thanks, man.
He
I
still does
appreciate
that.
it.
He
I
still we
took
still
I
he
took
does
and you know this being from Tucson, but I took a Codell back to Montana every weekend. I mean, so
Exactly.
I could damn near went to Europe quicker, so,
Oh, I totally could go back and forth too. It would be an easier commute for me going to Paris or London.
yeah,
Oh, man.
amen.
Well, thank Senator Kelly, thank you so much for your time and your patience with us and, just for being on. We hope you come back again.
Yeah. Hey, it was fun. Thank you
Thanks
guys.
for being on, Mark. Thank you. Good luck, buddy.
Hey, and thanks for coming to Sedona.
So here's the deal. We've talked about some pretty heavy stuff today. Tell me something that's good that's happened to Maritza. What?
Um, you're wearing a shirt that says Project Pink Lungs.
Exactly. Good. Yeah, I mean, everybody deserves to have pink lungs, right?
We need to have somebody on our thread post something good that's going on. Sam says, "Have a great day." You know what? I have a mama deer in my yard, and she's been there all weekend. That's been nice, and
Are
I
you
have
sure it's not Rudolph?
no, Rudolph's at the North Pole.
Okay, alright, keep going.
Uh, Cheryl says they need more trade schools and classes like we had, wood shop, mechanics, etc. She loves you, John. Nice. Cheryl
Uh,
loves you. That's good. Oh, Mara, yeah, that's right. It's Thanksgiving week.
it
That's
is.
good news.
Well, I tried to give you a little hint with the Rudolph thing, so I'm glad you picked that up.
Sorry. You guys, I am out of it. My dog was up, like, not feeling well all night, so I am not very with it today. Yes,
Alright,
it's Thanksgiving week. We're gonna have good feasts. Hopefully, you don't have too many terrible political chats at your Thanksgiving table.
don't do it, just, focus on the weather, that'll be a lot more fun to talk
Yeah,
about.
or do what, Sharon McMahon says and go, "Well, that's interesting," or "So I've heard that," or "Some people like that," or those are some good, diffusers. Okay, we wanna thank everybody. What does your hat say? Mike?
You know why I'm wearing this hat? Could you see it?
Big, Dry Angus Ranch. I
Yeah,
have a feeling I know why.
why?
Does it have to do with the pet I tried to buy from you this weekend?
You're exactly right, yeah. That's right, yeah.
Tell our friends what you did.
I'm a carnivore, and I like good beef, and I butchered a really good beef this weekend. A lady out of Geraldine raised it. It's phenomenal. It looked great alive. It looks even better, and, cooler, and, marvelous piece of beef, and, Maritza wanted to buy it and run it with the wild horses that come into her backyard, but, you know,
I
I'm
did
not
try.
I'm not sure you'd have bought enough hay to, be able to feed this animal.
Well, I tried. That's the only thing that matters. Okay, we wanna thank you all for joining us. We hope I'm sorry, I forgot it's Thanksgiving week. Have a
Yeah?
really wonderful Thanksgiving. We certainly still have a lot to be thankful for, and I hope you just have a great week with family. You can find us here on Substack, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. You can shoot us an email anytime at groundedpcast@gmail.com. We want to give a thank you to our guests for today, who is Senator Mark Kelly. We wanna thank our friends at Pearl Jam for letting us use their music, and to all of you who join us for these unfocused rants every week.
Have a great Thanksgiving with your family, folks.